Hello guys, and welcome back to Relevant Founders, brought to you by Relevant Software. Relevant is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers world-class standard products for Fortune 500 companies and promising startups. Today on the show, our next guest is Leroy Lawrence, CEO of Quadron Capital and founder of Pigee, a revolutionary app for traveling shopaholics. Leroy, let's get started straight into the midst of it, and tell me just a little bit about yourself, and tell me a little bit about your company as well.
Sure. So I've been in the financial services industry, capital markets for forever now, for 20 years, dealing with the stock market, listing companies on the stock market, and going through the kind of fundamentals of businesses from top to bottom since I first got into that sector. And I've always had a massive interest in entrepreneurialism. I'm a full-time founder myself, and I like to keep busy as possible. I like to do things that people say I can't do. So originally I was a founder of a stockbrokers in Canary Wharf. I was one of the youngest and first black founder of a stockbrokers in the UK, which is something my boss at the time told me that I couldn't do. Yeah, I like it. I'm competitive. Then I went on to be CEO of a small investment bank in Switzerland, and then I set up Quadron Capital, which is originally it was a hedge fund. Then it became a hedge fund advisor as we decided to change our model a bit.
Tell me, what was your original plan? Obviously, you're saying that you are competitive, and obviously when people said you can't do it, motivated you for more. What was your original plan? I guess maybe coming out of university or something like this. What was your original plan?
I was a bit lost after university. I think like a lot of people, to be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And then it kicks in, you need to make money pretty soon after and during university. So my first job was actually as a recruitment consultant, which I wasn't very good at, to be honest with you. I worked for a guy called Gary Alden, who to this day is probably like a major figure as far as a role model in this business and a kind of indirect mentor. I still speak to occasionally. And he set up this massive company. He was somebody who looked like me. He set up a massive company, been extremely successful, went on to be a FTSE 250 CEO as well. And the things he told me at work and the standards he set really set the standard for me. So I went away. I was probably a little bit too wet behind the ears out of university to be very good at recruitment at that particular time. But the things I learned there, I then went on to be a stockbroker, which again I had no business being at all. I didn't have an economics degree, and I kind of accepted a lot of no's before forcing my way into that industry. And when I became a stockbroker, because I'd used that previous experience in recruitment of how to organize my day, my business, and those standards, it worked out that I was a very good stockbroker off the back of that.
I guess it's one of those things which, I mean, so as far as I know, recruitment, there are a lot of rejections as well. You have to be used to, obviously, the rejection, get used to it and not let it deflate you. And I guess it's something that you can always take forward in any kind of field, that kind of strong-willed and willingness behind it, I guess. Tell me, before we go on to Pigee, tell me a little bit about Quadron Capital.
So Quadron Capital, so back when I was working at the investment bank, I dealt with lots and lots of really clever PhD quants who were developing algorithms. Before that, I'd been developing my own semi-automated algorithms as well. I mean, I was just an amateur compared to those guys, but I had a very good understanding of it and how to make it work in ways that maybe they didn't see the value of algorithms at the time. So I built a team of about 11 people in total, 4 of them being quants, who are really passionate about using high frequency trading and some medium frequency trading as well, which at the time was kind of all the rage at that moment in time, using trading on options, futures, currencies, CFDs as well, that kind of thing, and derivatives basically. So we originally were able to raise some capital from investors to get going with the hedge fund. Then we found that a pivot was about to happen, because we found that if we spoke to 100 potential investors, let's say 90 of them were interested, but they all wanted something slightly different on the risk parameters. So we just decided that what we are is we're a software company. We're developing an automated software, and the parameters are very easy to change risk-wise, but every investor wants a year or 2 years worth of factual trading history, but we can't run, like 50 accounts at 50 different permissions ratios with $1 million in each one. It's just not feasible. So we decided to go more down the software route and just white label out our products to some of our clients who are money managers, their own money. So that way they could deal with the clients, they could deal with the money, they could deal with those conversations, and we could just stick to what we were really doing, which is just building really good software for them.
We're going to come on to this a bit later on, because we're going to talk about the challenges and obviously how building Quadron Capital helped you with Pigee as well. Tell me, let's start a little bit with Pigee. Tell me, where did the idea come from? How did it come about?
So I was on a business trip to Kenya with a colleague of mine, and we decided very cheekily to nip over to Zanzibar for the weekend, because it was only like a 45-minute flight away, and I've been talking about it all year and seeing it on Instagram. So this was in the first year of lockdown as well, so lots of worries about COVID and masks and everything else. Kenya takes COVID very seriously, and Tanzania, with Zanzibar, did not believe in COVID at all. Their president didn't believe in it, so actually died of COVID in the end after not believing it. So yeah, we travelled to Zanzibar, had a great time for the weekend, got stuck because they'd run out of COVID tests to get back into Kenya. So we ended up spending the whole week in Zanzibar, which is an amazing place to be. Went to like Stone Market, all of the places where they sell beautiful paintings and original artworks and artifacts, things we hadn't seen before. And I travelled with my small hand luggage, and there I was Instagramming it away. Everyone's messaging me, oh, please, can you buy me this? Can you get that for me? And it was becoming, at first it was, oh, great, I'll buy this for you. Then very quickly it became a burden and a chore. I think I bought about 8 paintings in the end.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Carried them under my arm, some in my suitcase. By the time I got back to Kenya, they were ruined. So that was the problem. I wanted to buy more than I could carry. I couldn't figure out how I was going to get it home in one piece and conveniently without hassle. So my brain had begin to tick over. Right, this is the problem. How can I fix it? The concern was, is it just a first world problem? Is it just a problem that I have? So I knew I'd have to go back and start, realizing, is this a viable option? Do other people have the same problem as well? I was speaking to people about the problem, and everyone was saying, oh my God, I have this problem. Why has no one fixed this? I found a solution for this yet. But even that wasn't really quite enough evidence. We hired a PhD from LSE and an MBA from another university to help us do some real deep digging and research. And it is a real issue. Began to write this, I think it ended up being about 26-page kind of specification document, just basically an invention of how this thing was going to work. How it works now and how the original plan was has obviously changed a little bit, but the same core idea was there. And it was, what I liked about it was that every time we mentioned it to someone, they're excited. Oh my goodness, I have that problem. I want to use this.
It is one of those pain points, I guess, that everyone struggles with when they're going abroad. It's not something that you want to be doing, lugging around all of these things with you. Tell me a little bit how it works. How does it work?
So what we're effectively doing is turning any random, very small or average sized shop or street market into like a Amazon for you. So you go into a shop, you say you want to buy this item. The shop owner says, yeah, great. They take a photograph with the Pigee app of the item. It takes less than 10 seconds to list that product. They just put in the dimensions, the weight, the name. That's pretty much it. Click save. You can then connect with that shop owner. You can either, using the Pigee app, scan their QR code, which immediately sends you on your phone to their Pigee shop. Alternatively, you can just use the map in the Pigee app on your side, and because it knows your GPS location, it will just find that particular shop, and you can just view the things that they're selling. They would have already listed products anyway, but if there's things they haven't listed that you want them to list on the fly, they can do it very quickly in 10 seconds, like I said. And then you just, like on Amazon or eBay, add to cart those things on your device, and you just pay for it, including the shipping. It gives you the shipping exactly from that location to your location. You can send it home.
Like a courier that comes and picks it up from their kind of store or shop or whatever.
Yeah. So same day or next day, a shipping company will arrive and they'll collect it from that. All they have to do, the shop owner, all they have to do is package it for you. You can be there while I package it if you want, or you can just leave, and you can track it on your phone. You can see when it's being collected. You can see when it's gone to the port. You can track the whole journey on your phone, and it's insured as well.
whereabouts is this located at the moment? So I've done some research about the company before we're meeting today, and I saw you've got Bali, or Bali, I don't know how to pronounce it. You've got Mexico, and there was one other place that you were looking at, Thailand. Is it something like you have to go around these places and build these connections with store owners first, or is it something that they're starting to talk about amongst themselves and coming to you for?
Our current strategy is to do B2B sales. So when I was in Bali in May, we set up a sales team and I trained them up, and they went around the shops in Bali selling the idea to shop owners, explaining the benefits of onboarding them. So that was the way in which we registered new shops, but also we learned loads. We had really good feedback from shop owners about what they want, because our first point of call is building an app that works for shop owners, because we want shop owners to tell tourists, because often they do tell tourists, so you can use DHL if you want and send it to you. But the problem is they have to come back either later on the next day, and the quote might be too expensive. The shoppers lose interest in that time. So we explain to them that, this is instant, gives you an instant quote, instant price, instant pay. You receive the money as soon as it's collected. So we're spreading that message, but our focus is registering as many shops as possible so that they can be our
countries at the moment.
Yeah. So Bali is our main focus right now. Once we integrated like local shipping companies, local payments that work for them as well, to make it really good for people in Bali specifically. As soon as we feel that we've found product market fit and a bit of virality in Bali, then we'll move on to the next location.
Okay. Tell me, how did the original MVP look for this?
Not too much different, but it was just a bit too difficult for shop owners, is what we found. So we built a guide to explain how it works, and that wasn't really adequate. We tried to have a flow for how users can use it. That wasn't quite adequate, and I think we were trying to solve too many user problems all at once, when really we needed to just focus on the shop registrations. So now we have a flow in there that makes it really, like, you can't really mess it up. It's really easy to do, to register your shop now. And then I expect we'll get more feedback from tourists as well, to say what things, but I mean, we think the tourist side is really simple, but you never know until you get more and more feedback. I think someone said to me that you should hope that your original MVP, it might feel and look good at the time, but a few years from now, you should laugh at how bad it was.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is what I hear a lot. I mean, the amount of pivots that have to be taken a lot of the time in any kind of startup is what I hear a lot from you guys, founders of businesses. With the original MVP, how did you build it then? Was it in-house? Did you outsource? How did you approach it?
There's a mixture. So in-house, we have front-end developers. We have myself, who is, I would say, semi-technical. But there was too much to do for us to do. I mean, we could have done it, but this time, 2 years from now, we'll still be working on the MVP, to be honest with you. So yeah, we outsourced quite a bit of it on the back end to other developers, and kind of work together with them.
Where do you usually outsource to? Is it something you use like Upwork or something like this? Or do you go to a specific place? Do you go to Bali or something like this?
With the back-end development, we use a UK company who has mainly Indian developers, is who we use, because I knew them already from other bits and pieces, and it's worked pretty well that way. When it comes to just small little technical jobs that need doing that no one else can figure out, I haven't used Upwork. I look on there, but I've never used Upwork so far. Quite often it's just recommendations from people saying, oh, you should speak to this guy, maybe he's going to fix that particular thing. Fiverr, but not so much for the technical stuff as well, but yeah.
What is your criteria? So obviously you said about recommendations a lot of the time. What is the criteria when working with an outsourced staff? Because obviously there's a lot of things that come with it. The disjointedness depends if it's in a different area, time zone. What do you look for usually?
Yeah, time zones have been a big problem. We're doing stuff between California, London, India, and Bali right now, so it's an ongoing issue. I think everyone should, everyone should just be in the GMT time zone. I think it's the best time zone. But I've become so used to having developers in India, and I think I'm just making their evenings very long from their point of view. So I don't mind that time zone. I never look at California for developers, because I just find it to be the worst time zone. I even find it easier dealing with people in like East Asia than I do people in California for things. It's really difficult. So yeah, time zone is a factor. But you know, I'd love if I could throw someone a complicated problem and they can use a bit of passion to figure it out, then I'll use them again, because I know sometimes with people, you throw them a swerve ball and they kind of give you this kind of mechanics response of, oh, that looks difficult. I don't know if I can do that all the time. I just want someone to put their head down and be like emboldened by, be emboldened by that challenge and say, yeah, it seems impossible, but I'm going to figure this out.
Kind of like you, as you were saying, yeah, I mean, tell me I can't do it and I will prove to you I can. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Tell me, you're saying that obviously you were or still are working obviously in this time zone of from California to East Asia. How do you battle at the moment with this? How are you battling the time zone challenge? What are you doing specifically to work with it?
So with the Indonesia to here, it's not been so bad. I have a feeling that people in Indonesia are just working very late into the evening, being very amenable to me, because they're really passionate about this project as well. They really like it. So I think, you know, they're bending over backwards, and the same in India as well. And I think as you go more Western, maybe it's not quite so that way. So like I said, I'm just avoiding working with developers in California where I can. We have some, but try and do if I can do. But I haven't really got a great solution. Maybe that'll be the next startup time zone solution.
It does seem like that's one that pops up all the time, actually, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, what about let's talk about your team.
At most we've been now we're about 13 in total, a mixture of full-time and part-time and contractors.
Are you using much of the kind of expertise that you've used to build Quadron to help you build Pigee? How are you working that out?
I think they're quite dissimilar businesses. There's a lot I've learned in the time whilst doing Quadron about tech businesses, and especially American tech business and startups. I've just happened to have read tons of books to learn about and speak to learn about that sort of stuff. But I would say Quadron is a very different animal. Sure, we're always doing development in software, but it's just a very specific type of development it's you know, with normal software development, you might have 10 different bits of software you're sticking together through open source to make it work. Whereas with on the Quadron side, it's nice, you know, it's just one particular language you're always working.
Okay, I've seen recently that in Bali as well, you've just built your sales team in Bali now. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you go about approaching a sales team in Bali?
I mean, people in Bali and tourist areas are very used to doing sales constantly all the time anyway. But the sales strategies and principles that I put into them, I think they were quite new to the people I was dealing with. Some of them struggled, and some of them just knocked it out of the park, just really ran with it.
I guess, okay, let's talk a little bit about expansion, because I guess creating Pigee throughout the pandemic is obviously, it's only going to go up from now. How does your timeline look for expansion? So you're saying you would like to expand as much as possible. What kind of timeline have you got for this?
I think we need a good whole year in Bali and Indonesia in general, so we can pick up some of that domestic market, but really get those tourists coming in from Australia and China when they start traveling again, and Singapore. I think we need a year to really make sure we get product market fit, get to that viral stage where it's really kicking off in that part of the world where we know it kind of works with the right integrations. Then we want to move on to the next country and start doing the same thing. I think hopefully as we improve our own internal processes, the scaling will come a lot quicker over that period of time. We've had in a way, we're a bit lucky with having lockdown, because it meant we could spend a year building this product without too much kind of pressure to do so. It meant that we couldn't get out a year earlier to Bali, but it would have been a waste of time if we had it done. So it kind of saved us a bit of time.
I mean, you were kind of able to do all the, let's say, back office stuff. Yeah, you were able to do things before you need to get out there and start promoting it. Okay, interesting. Tell me, we're going to go on to talking about a little bit about investing and funding. I know as well, you've got a huge amount of experience in this as well. I found some research, obviously, about Pigee. So far, it was a little bit older research, so correct me if I'm wrong. So in 2020 is when your pre-seed started, and you raised a total of $1,000.
Yeah.
What tips can you share with our listeners regarding this fundraising part, the beginning of a startup journey? What tips can you share?
It's really complicated. I'll be honest with you. People make out that it's really easy. I've had different experiences with fundraising. I became a bit of a believer in the American style of fundraising because they have a very good way of doing it, and it works much better, I think, than the British way of fundraising. They have an organized structure. There are a few books which you can read to understand, what your proposition should look like. That will really help you. And I think if you're going to reverse engineer everything, you think, right, what am I trying to get out of this business? Am I trying to make it ultimately make loads of money and list in a stock exchange and be bought by someone else? Or am I just doing it for a bit of fun because I'm passionate about this particular subject? That's the first question. If it's because you're passionate about it and you think it's helpful to you or to the world, then you have to base your proposition on that. There's no point selling that this is going to make a lot of money, but 99% of investors want to make money. So if you're building something that you think could be really scalable, make lots of money, then you have to focus on, right, here are the numbers. And one thing with a startup is you don't have many numbers. You have this educated guess, which is what you think, pro rata you're going to make in the future. But you have all you can do is research, and you're never quite sure about your numbers. You'll put your numbers to someone who hasn't thought about what you're doing in like 2 minutes, who will tell you these numbers look too big or too small. That will then knock you off your perch a little bit. You think, oh, 1 second, maybe I should rethink it again. But I think you need to do, and so when it comes to reverse engineering, you need to think about who is your investor going to be as well. Are you looking for investors in the UK, in Europe, in America, in Asia? And you need to build something that works for them. So with Pigee, because we were looking more for US investors, because we believe that American venture has been extremely successful, it's undeniable really, we incorporated it in the US, in Delaware, in a place that we know that American VC investors are very comfortable with investing into. So again, it's always about find out what you want, find out what you think your potential investors work, and then give them what they want. Otherwise, they're never going to invest. And just kind of reverse engineer everything. Also, it's continual learning. As I said, my background is being sales, financial sales, raising money, listing companies in the past. But the way that it's done with a tech startup, especially US focused tech startup, compared to how that's done in different industries is completely different. So you have to kind of take a step back and be a bit humble about the way that you're looking at. Or you may have never ever raised money to it. It may seem extremely daunting, intimidating to you, which I imagine is because you're thinking, I'm a founder of this business. I'm not a professional salesperson. Why have I now got to go and raise? And it's a really sad, unfortunate part of being a founder. You've just become a salesperson now. And your business could be something that, given the equal funding that someone else has got, your business could be much, much more successful. But no one knows until it's in hindsight. You've got to persuade people and know that they feel more comfortable handing over money when they relate to you. You have presented something that they're used to seeing in a way they're used to seeing. So you have to kind of learn, in the same way you learn a programming language, you need to learn the language of that investor and those investors that you're really appealing to.
I mean, that sounds like it takes a long time as well, and a different approach for every investor that you've got. You said that, I'm just going to jump on a few things that you said there. So you said there is the difference between the American and British style of kind of funding, investing. What is the difference between the both?
I'm going to be really critical about English fundraising here, straight off the bat. Well, in reality, there is a lot more money swirling around in other countries in Asia and America than there are in the UK and Europe. That's the reality, first of all. So you're going to be dealing with less. You need to make a business competitive with other either current or future competitors in the world. You often need a lot more money than you realise, at least 30% more than what you realise to make that thing work. And yeah, about 30% more than you even think you do. And what I find is that when it comes to investing in the UK, even when it's through VCs quite often, there's a lot less money available for startups. There's much more skepticism, and people aren't really so willing to dream big, to aim big, unless you have a business that's making revenue straight off the back. And even then, they're not really buying into it. So therefore, you end up raising a lot less. And I've invested into lots of startups myself, and I find with the ones in the UK, they raise a lot less, and they're conditioned to want to raise a lot less. There was a company that I invested into that actually closed down recently. I think they really should have done. They raised, I think, £300,000 for this startup, which they knew was only enough to get to a certain milestone. And they knew that if they didn't get to the next funding milestone, they were going to go bust. And they'd done a really, really good job. And they only went bust because they couldn't raise, they struggled to raise any more money past that particular point. Their competitors were raising tens of millions in the US, and their business was no better than their one at all, because people were able to dream, to dare, to risk it, to speculate, not half speculate, but to really speculate on it. And that's what happens in the UK. A lot of businesses that should really do really well, the founder is conditioned to not ask for too much. The investors don't want to invest too much, and you just create a lot of dead money, ultimately. Of course, you don't want a founder to be inexperienced and waste money, but in reality, they don't have enough money to make this thing work. It's just never going to work, and that is something I've seen again and again and again in the UK, and I didn't want to go down that route.
Tell me about your as well. So what's your personal due diligence when you're investing in startups?
The main reality is that you like them, you like their team. That's the first thing. You feel they come across like they're very smart, they're in control of what they're doing, they're making good decisions, and not going to just promise the world and run away with it. So you have to kind of use your own experience on that. Someone who can present you a like a due diligence pack of some sort, where they say, well, here's all of our company information, here's all of our numbers so far, here's a proof of who we are, here's a proof of, you know, our competitors. They've done a lot of thinking. Someone who's done a lot of thinking, they've shown you they've been thinking a lot about their process, and they've, in a very organized way, given you all their due diligence straight away. That's really important to me. Founders who report monthly or quarterly, which I know can be just a bit of you might feel like you have better things to do, to be honest, sometimes, but a founder that can report every month on what their numbers are, good or bad, really want to, because they're going to be bad numbers, we'll find it a bit easier to raise follow-on rounds as well of investment, because investors, they just want to be involved in what's going on as well. So someone who's kind of like who has a strong integrity as well, and they've shown you what they're doing. That's some of the key stuff. And then also, they haven't got to have the world's best idea sometimes. If they do, you know, it's giving them a much better chance of becoming a unicorn. I'm not sure if you could become a unicorn with a sub-average idea, but ultimately, all of the other factors need to be at play as well. They need to know in and out their competitors. They need to know their market well. They need to either have a good idea of the skills needed, or they need to go out and find, or be about to go out and find, once they find some more funding, some of those particular skills in that particular country and field as well. So they have to have a very clear plan. And you know, I stay away from anyone who's remotely arrogant. It's kind of Jose.
Does that happen often?
Yeah. I mean, you want a founder who is really self-confident, but sometimes
line, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, they think they know it all already. That's the worst one. They think they know it all already. The world is constantly changing. Everything's constantly moving. You need your finger on the pulse. And if you're not someone who's constantly re-educating and learning about what's going on, you're just going to become extinct before you can get going.
Yeah, too stubborn to change, I guess, a lot of the time, which is the problem. It seems to me, yeah, so your criteria is kind of very much kind of how you approach it, with the passion as well. There has to be that passion around it and what you're doing. And if you're showing you're going to work, like you're going to work your arse off basically to achieve what you want to do, then it's worth the risk, let's say.
Yeah.
Tell me, I'm just going to go on to a little bit about the future and your personal kind of experience. Yes, so you were talking about competitors. The guys need to know their competitors. Who is your competitor at Pigee at the moment? Is there a competitor around, or are you the first of the kind? Have you seen?
You know what? People are tempted to say they haven't got competitors, and it's suicidal to ever say that out loud, or to even everyone think that. It just means they haven't researched it all. A competitor doesn't need to be a carbon copy of what you're doing. So yes, there's no one doing exactly what we're doing. We found a niche within the logistics, travel, mobile industry. No one's doing exactly what we're doing, but that doesn't mean other people are competitors. There are other people doing logistics. There are other people using mobile apps, other people focusing on tourism. So these people are all competitors, and you need to show your competitors, because you can show that that's the size of that market. Let's say that Pigee is like, you know, 70% about logistics and it's 30% about tourism. So I should look at the competitors in each one of those kind of areas, find out how big that market is, and find a kind of cross number between those two relevant to me, what I think my addressable market is. And then I need to look at, so what is it that, for example, a company called Cisapat Express, which are a logistics company end-to-end in Indonesia, who are a unicorn. I think they're worth a couple $1 billion right now. Only, I think, 8 years old, I think they are right now, but they've done really, really well. They do 200,000 deliveries per day in Indonesia. So we have to look at, well, what things do they do that we also do? You know, what's the size of that market? Are they already some sort of behemoth? Are they too much of a competitor for us to play with? Or is our niche enough to take a little bit away or create a new market? Now, we think Pigee doesn't necessarily act to take away from what they're doing in Indonesia, but we definitely create customers that they don't currently have at all, offering a service that they could potentially be offering, which is a delivery service, but they're domestic and we're international. So
what would you describe Pigee as at the moment? Is it more fintech industry? Is it a delivery kind of, where is it kind of located?
Yeah, I know. It's definitely logistics and fintech. It's a mixture of both. We make more money from the logistics side of it. That's definitely the case. But I think in the future we'll increase how much revenue we're generating from the fintech.
I saw on your LinkedIn, I think it was around a month ago, you said, let me just see if we've got the quote here. I know my inbox is full with full stack developers, but if you are an entrepreneurial problem solving developer looking for a life-changing, exciting project, inbox me. What are you looking to do? What are you looking to build in the future? Have you found this person that you're looking for? And yeah, what kind of is the future for?
So yeah, I haven't found them yet. I want to build a team of 4 or 5 in-house, really, full stack developers. The team I have now, I think they're an amazing team who's done really good stuff, and we can do the big stuff we can do quicker, but the small stuff we don't do quick enough. So I need some in-house people. Even if I hire 1 for now, I need some more in-house people who can just get those little bits done really quickly, like overnight. That's what we need. But I also do need, we have a fractional, but I need a full-time CTO, which will come in line with our next round. So we're just about to start fundraising $4 million right now for our seed round. And I think we need as we do that, we need a new full-time CTO as well. I've interviewed quite a few CTOs, some who've come from corporate backgrounds, some who've come from startup backgrounds, lots of them really, really clever guys, but I don't hire anyone who's not extremely passionate about this particular thing. It's just pointless to do. I want someone to get paid really well, to make lots of money now and in the future, but I want to know that they would actually do this for free, because they love the potential of what we're doing. Now, this is something that can affect, it can affect everyone individually, but also it can really benefit lots of these small shop owners to really increase their revenue. I want someone who's really passionate about what we can do as a business and think this is a passion project for me. I just happen to get paid well from doing this. That's what I'm looking for. So maybe I'm being too picky for now. Maybe I reduce a bit, but for me, you need to be really passionate about it. That's what I'm looking for.
No, I think if you want it to your business to develop in the direction which you which you're dreaming for, then you need to make sure that all of these things match up, don't you, all the time? Yeah. It's actually was going to be my next question, because I was trying to find if you've got a CTO, because obviously it's extremely important for what you're doing. At the moment, so far, are you kind of acting? You said you've got technical kind of understanding, knowledge as well. Are you actively acting CTO until you find one?
That would be a strong use of language to describe myself as acting CTO. We do, with the company using from have them as a fractional CTO, their lead at the moment. But I did design the original specifications in technical detail, and I've had to the breast and everything. So I'm a poor man CTO at the moment. The real one.
Nice. What has been that one thing? No, let me ask this differently. If you could start it all over again 20 years ago, what would be that one bit of knowledge which you've got now, which you wish you had 20 years ago starting out?
I guess really that's kind of me looking back at what mistakes I've made, and I would just very easily correct them, because hindsight makes everything really obvious to everyone. I wouldn't change too much in Quadron. I'd definitely change things in business before that. Maybe I'd learn. I don't know. It's a funny one. I should have an easy answer for you there.
Is there like something that you've you've learned over the last 20 years, which now you're using for Pigee, but you didn't use before? Is there something like that?
You know what? If you see me on my computer every day, I'm like a digital marketing guy, which it's lots of little skills I've learned over the years. Maybe I didn't realize I was going to use them. Like, so I'm all over Adobe, all looking at software, bits and pieces. I'm an old school computer guy. Since I had my first computer when I was 5 years old. So I'm like PC till I die, Windows. I've got all the software, all the gear. So there's lots of soft skills that I've learned, even like web design, basic computer programming. That seemed almost useless to me through most of my career. Kind of just did it as a hobby or stuff. That has definitely benefited where I am now, what I'm doing with Pigee. There's always some more languages I could have learned as well. But you know what? The things I've learned in this since the beginning of Pigee has been like a mini MBA. If I'm honest, I read at least one book a week anyway, and I've just been shifting through all of the kind of Americanized startup technology books, getting all that language right, and to be honest with you, how much I've sat back on my knowledge from financial services from before, I think that will actually come into play later on in this Pigee journey, because when it comes to, in the same way that I've been building Pigee in a way that appeals to investors, whether they're angel investors or VC investors, I'm also at the back of my mind building something that can list on a stock exchange. And I'm much more interested in that than someone acquiring us, because I know that methodology. I've done that many a times in the past of, going through all the documents and listing companies on the stock exchange, that I know how to do it. So in the back of my mind, when I'm making decisions with Pigee, it's how we can get to an IPO. That's what I'm always kind of working on.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to press the thumbs up button below. Also, subscribe to our channel to make sure you don't miss out on any future content coming your way in the near future. Also, I really want to know your opinion about this episode, so be sure to leave a comment down below in the comment section. Okay guys, that's all for now. See you soon.